Now, in the last few lectures, we saw that we had taken just two electrons which are present close to the Fermi energy, and we switched on an attractive interaction. And there we showed that if the two, in the absence of any attractive interaction, the total energy is of course 2EF for these two electrons. But the moment you switch on the attractive interaction, then within h cross omega d of the Fermi energy, if these two electrons are present between h cross omega d of the Fermi energy and you switch on this attractive interaction, then the total energy of these two electrons is less than 2EF, which results from the two electrons undergoing a binding. The total energy reduces because the two electrons undergo a binding, and the energy becomes 2EF minus h cross omega d e raised to minus 2 divided by V naught times density of states at the Fermi energy. So this clearly shows that near the Fermi energy, if you have electrons which are present and if you switch on attractive interaction, as long as it is within h cross omega d of the Fermi energy, which comes from the basic process of how you create this attractive interaction, then it will lead to pairing of electrons, and the electrons will basically lower their energy. So single particle states will not be available. The system has a lower energy. It can lower its energy by reducing the total energy of the system, and so particles will start pairing up. Equal and opposite momenta particles with equal and opposite spins will pair up, and it will lead to the superconducting state basically. Okay, so this was the basic premise of BCS theory, but we had done the calculation just for two electrons. So now let us calculate for a multi-particle system, many body system, where there are many electrons present inside the system. How does one find out the energy gap which is associated with this many electron system? Okay, so this is the detailed aspect of the BCS theory, the detailed calculation of the BCS theory, which we will now introduce. And for this calculation, we will need second quantization. This is something that you would have already studied in quantum mechanics, and I will just give a very brief reminder of some basic things that we will use for second quantization. Okay, so let us begin with our very brief sort of discussion of second quantization. And there are a lot of materials. You can go to quantum mechanics books. Every quantum mechanics books has discussion on second quantization. We will specifically use second quantization for fermions. Okay, so I will just discuss second quantization for fermions. Okay, and there are a lot of material which is available on the internet or in books and so on, and you can read more details about second quantization. I will just give you a very brief overview of the second quantization. Now, if one has a many electron system or a many fermion system, it also is valid for bosons, not necessarily only fermions. Second quantization is also true of fermions. So basically, if you have a many body system, there could be electrons or bosons inside the system. Okay, there could be fermions or bosons inside the system. So if one has many body system, and you will associate a wave function for a state in the state I, okay, for a particle which is, so you have a multi-electron system, okay, and for a particle R J, okay, for a particle at the jth position in state I, okay, in state I, for a particle in jth position, you will write down the wave function of that particle as psi I. Okay, now if you want to write down the total wave function of the system for this multi-particle system R1, R2, this thing Rn, then for this multi-particle system, then it will be made up of all these wave functions. Okay, you will construct this out of all these wave functions, and for fermions you will construct psi, this net wave function, out of antisymmetric antisymmetric combination of size. Okay, antisymmetric combination of psi I rj. Basically you will use the Slater determinant. Okay, you will make the Slater determinant. Okay, and if you have many number of particles, it becomes really cumbersome trying to work with this sort of a wave function, which is written in terms of so if you have 100 particles, you will have various terms which will be related to the permutation of all these particles. Okay, and it will be a very cumbersome, very difficult to work with this sort of a wave function, because you will have to make antisymmetric combinations of these wave functions. Okay, for individual particles in state I. Okay, so you will okay, so it's not very convenient to work with this sort of a wave function. So whether it is true is for bosons or for fermions, this is true. So what one does is that instead of working with these sort of wave functions, one goes to the occupation basis. Basically now the wave function is written as n1, n2, n3, where n1 is number of particles in state 1, n2 number of particles in state 2, and so on. So you can write down this wave function as in this basis, where you are just writing how many particles are in which state. Okay, now for fermions, of course, ni's will be either 0 or 1, because for a given state either it can have a particle or it cannot have a particle, and for any unique state there can be only one particle. Okay, which can occupy that state. Okay, so n can be either 0 or 1 for that state. Okay, so we can define so for fermions. Okay, and now we begin the discussion for fermions. So in this occupation basis, of n1, n2, n3, in this basis of, let me just wait. Okay, so in this occupation basis of n1, n2, n3, let us define the raising, creation and annihilation operators. Creation and annihilation. This is almost like the creation and annihilation operators that you study, or the raising and lowering operators that you study for the simple harmonic oscillator. It is similar to that. Okay, so you have these creation and annihilation operators. Let me define them first. Ci dagger is n1, n2, which operates on this basis, occupation basis, is -1 raised to mu I, n1, n2 so this creation operator, which is acting on the ith state, it actually creates a particle in the ith state. Okay, this gets an occupation 1, and the index I represents that in the ith state you have created an occupation 1, you have created a particle at this state. Okay, and mu I is basically j is equal to 1 to I minus 1 ni. Okay, it is a phase factor. This -1 raised to mu I is a phase factor. -1 raised to mu I is a phase factor which is related to the anti-symmetry of the wave functions, okay, for the fermions. Okay, it is related to the anti-symmetry of the wave functions for fermions. Note that Ci dagger on a state where in the ith state you already have an occupation of an electron, for example n1, n2, okay, here what this shows is ith state is already occupied by an electron, then, or a fermion, electron or a fermion, then the Ci dagger acting on the ith state will be 0, because you cannot create another particle on top of this particle. So if I act Ci dagger on a state which is already occupied, it will lead to 0. Okay. Now we define, so this was as far as the creation operator was concerned, we define an annihilation operator which is again acting on this occupation basis. So Ci n1 n2. Now this, if I operate, whereas in the above case, if I looked at it in the above case, Ci dagger, the creation operator acting on the state which is already occupied, will actually lead to 0. Okay, the annihilation operator can act on this state which has which is already occupied, and it can annihilate an electron which is present in that state. So basically n1 n2. So now the state has no electrons which are in this state I, whereas earlier there was one electron which was occupying this state I. Now you have no electrons which are occupying this state I. Okay, I'm sorry, and there is an additional factor, so I forgot to put in this phase factor. There is an additional factor minus, just like before, mu I, where mu I is summation of j is equal to 1 to I minus 1 nj. Okay, where nj is the number of particles which are present in each state I, and again it is related to the anti-commutation, the anti-symmetry. It is related to the anti-symmetry of the fermionic state. Okay. So the antisymmetry which comes about because of the permutation of each individual state's wave function, okay, that gives rise to this phase term which is minus 1 raised to mu I. Okay, so these are the rules which are followed by the creation and annihilation operators. So what we can do is, now you can also show that if Ci acts on n1 n2 and the state is already 0I, is already doesn't have any particle, then trying to annihilate that state will also lead to again 0. Okay, so these are some basic properties. Okay, and you can show, okay, if you just look at some books and so on, you can show the anti-commutation rules, followed by the creation and the annihilation operators. Okay, so those rules are Ci comma dagger is equal to delta Ij. Similarly, Ci comma Cj is equal to Ci dagger Cj dagger is equal to 0. Okay. Now, where let's say this Ci comma Cj dagger basically represents Ci Cj dagger plus Cj dagger Ci. Okay, this is the meaning of this anti-commutation, the curly brackets. Okay, so these are some of the basic anti-commutation rules which are obeyed by these these creation and annihilation operators. Okay, now let us look at this property. Let us look at another property, that Ci dagger Ci, which is acting on this state n1 n2. Okay, so now this means that the ith state has one fermion. Now if I operate this Ci dagger Ci on this state, what will I get? Ci dagger, where you first operate Ci on this state n1 up to I. Okay, this will be nothing else but Ci dagger minus 1 raised to mu I n1 n2 0I okay, and then if you act this Ci dagger now again acts on this state, then you will get minus 1 mu I Ci dagger, which is acting on n1 n2 0I, will give you minus 1 mu I into minus 1 mu I n1 n2, and this is nothing else but minus 1 raised to 2 mu I n1 n2 and minus 1, this is nothing else but this is nothing else but 1 into the occupation basis. So Ci dagger Ci acting on n1 n2 gives you this operator. Ci dagger Ci essentially gives you the number of particles in state I. It is a number operator which gives you the number of particles in state I. So Ni, which is the number operator, Ci dagger Ci. So if you act on with this number operator on the occupation basis, or using the occupation basis, you essentially get the number of particles. Okay, so this is the number operator. Okay, so now if you recall, the total energy, say let us consider free electrons in a system, then total energy E is summation of k Ek Nk, right, where Nk Nk, excuse me, let me correct it. Nk is number of particles in state K, and Ek is energy of electron in state, which is square by 2 if electron is a free electron. Okay, so the Nk can also be written, so the total energy, okay, so if I write the Hamiltonian of the system, okay, for a free electron, if I write the Hamiltonian of the system, it is equal to K Ek Nk, where now Nk is the operator, Nk is the number operator, so now this becomes the number operator, okay. So this is equal to summation of K Ek Ck dagger Ck, okay, where the number operator is now written in terms of Ck dagger Ck, okay, and then you can find the expectation value. You write the wave function of the system, you find the expectation value using this operator. So this is the basic starting off point from where so using the creation and annihilation operator for this for the many body system, we can begin to look at the BCS theory. Okay, this will be the starting off point for our BCS theory.